So Arsenal look set to sign yet another centre-back. Yes, you heard right. So let's get into this. As Ornstein has said here, and Romano himself has said this, Arsenal looks set to be locking into talks for Cristhian Mosquera from Valencia. 20 years old with only 12 months left on his deal. So an interesting out-of-the-blue type signing. But let's see why it is that Arsenal are going in for him. So let me just say, I'm not an expert on this guy, but I had to look into some stats because I wanted to know what he's about, why we're going in for him and all the rest of it, so that you don't have to. But I think one of the reasons why the club have gone in for him is the fact he's young and also he's robust. So 3,300 plus minutes last season. That's more than Gabriel has played for us. Obviously, he got injured last season, but also more than what Saliba played for us. And he played a lot of football last season. So we know the injuries in our backline have been terrible. So signing someone that's young, robust, and has a growth ceiling that's obviously a little bit higher is probably an attraction here as a rotation option. Looking more closely into the stats that count, the defensive stats, tackles per 90, 1.49. That is actually markedly higher than Saliba and Gabriel. Now, that could be down to the way that Valencia play, maybe the quality of that team. They may be more susceptible to attacks, but this is a guy who likes to get stuck into a challenge. Not just that, his ground duel stats, 59.5% ground duels won. That put him in the top 5, I believe, under 23 defenders in La Liga last season. So some fairly decent stats that are stacked behind him. And I think the other thing that I picked up on at least is that his progressive passes are fairly decent per 90, 3.33. I think Saliba's is 4.09. So Saliba is by and way and large way ahead in terms of that metric. But it's actually more than Gabriel's, which is an interesting stat to kind of consider there. But look, like I said at the start of this video, I'm not an expert on this guy. I don't know too much about him. What I'm trying to do is trying to understand why the club have gone in for him and what it is they've seen and why they're going in so rapidly for a young defender like him. I think there's some promise there from stats that I've been able to generate, but look, I'm no expert in that department. But look, if I was to give an opinion on it, it's another defender. So it'd be interesting to see whether we see someone leave as a result of his potential arrival. But look, we're clearly set on what we want to do business-wise in this transfer window, and we're going and getting it done. So let's see. If it happens, let's see what he produces, and let's see what type of player that he could become for the Arsenal. But yeah, I guess it's one to watch. But look, these are just my thoughts and views on the Mosquera links. Football is nothing but opinions. Let me know what your opinions are on this potential signing.